July 1941, the deserts of North Africa shimmered under an unrelenting sun, a vast, unforgiving stage for a war increasingly defined by mobility and ingenuity. For months, British commando operations, often sea-based, had faltered. The disbandment of Lay Force, a unit of 2,000 men, due to logistical limitations and a stark lack of naval support, underscored a critical void. Conventional tactics were proving insufficient. It was into this vacuum that a radical new idea would emerge. A young officer, Captain David Stirling, recuperating from a parachute accident that had broken his neck, found himself with the time and mental space to challenge existing military doctrine. His personal injury, ironically, became the catalyst for a paradigm shift. Stirling envisioned something audacious: small, highly mobile units, striking deep behind enemy lines, relying on surprise, not overwhelming force. His initial pitch was unconventional, even daring. He infiltrated Middle East headquarters without authorization, presenting his concept directly to General Ritchie, the Deputy Chief of Staff. Ritchie, receptive to innovative thinking, saw the potential. The proposal then reached General Auchinleck, Commander-in-Chief, Middle East. Auchinleck, a cautious but pragmatic leader, was swayed by the low-risk, high-gain potential of Stirling's plan. The cost in men and resources was minimal, the potential disruption significant. Thus, L Detachment of the SAS Brigade was born. Its initial mandate, a force of 60 men, divided into 5 groups of 12. Early experiments were hazardous, a testament to raw determination over sophisticated equipment. 50 parachutes, originally intended for India, were repurposed. The transport? An old Valencia aeroplane, wonderfully unsuited for parachute jumping, its very existence highlighting the improvisational spirit that would come to define the unit. These trials, though flawed and often injurious, provided proof of concept for air insertion. Stirling himself possessed a loving and extensive knowledge of explosives, a critical skill for the unit's destructive mission. He understood that Rommel's reliance on a protected coast road for night convoys presented a profound vulnerability. This logistical artery, essential to the Axis war effort, became a prime target. The impact was swift and disproportionate. The SAS inflicted devastating damage with remarkably few men. Over 250 aircraft were destroyed, along with vital depots, severely disrupting enemy logistics. Rommel himself, faced with these persistent phantom-like raids, would eventually lament the constant need to divert frontline troops for rear area security, a drain on his combat power. He dubbed Stirling the Phantom Major, a moniker that spoke volumes of the psychological impact the SAS had on enemy morale. Stirling became a legendary figure to his men, embodying a daring ingenuity that fundamentally altered the dynamics of the Desert War. This small, specialized force challenged the long-held notion that only large conventional units could achieve significant battlefield impact, proving that innovation, even in the face of initial military resistance, could push the boundaries of warfare. The very name Special Air Service was, in fact, an early act of strategic deception. Devised by Brigadier Dudley Clark, it was a cover story designed to mislead the enemy into believing in a large British parachute force, using dummy soldiers and gliders to sow confusion. The truth, however, was far more humble and far more daring. The nascent unit faced not just the enemy, but the formidable enemy within: bureaucracy. Major Smith in the Adjutant General's Department grudgingly allowed recruitment, but issued a stark warning of Q-side supply difficulties. This proved prescient. The Q officer declared only 2 tents, and not much else were available, citing losses in Greece, Crete, and a recent setback. The frustrating mantra, the Q at Q, became a bitter reality for the men seeking essential supplies. Against this backdrop of scarcity, Stirling assembled his team. Key recruits included Jock Lewis, a commando and Cambridge Science Honours graduate, whose intellect would prove crucial for training and problem-solving. Paddy Mayne, a former international rugby player, known for his physical prowess and initial skepticism, would become a formidable, if sometimes unconventional, leader. They were joined by invaluable NCOs like Cooper, Seekings, Rose, Lilly and Bennett, and officers such as McGonigal, Bonington, Torrey, Thomas and Bill Fraser. Their base, L Detachment SAS at Cubrit, was a forlorn camp, with just 2 small tents for personnel and 1 large supply tent. Resources were so scarce that audacity became their supply chain. A raid on an empty New Zealand camp using a 3-ton truck yielded essential equipment, and, notably, a piano and bar from a recreation room. This act of borrowing was a clear signal that conventional rules would not apply to this unit. Training was intense and innovative. Beyond standard rifle practice, map reading and weapon stripping Italian Berettas, German Schmeissers, English Tommy guns, physical conditioning was relentless. Parachute training itself was a testament to improvisation and risk. Initial plans for wooden platforms on rollers were sidelined. Instead, men practiced backward rolls from lorries moving at 30 miles an hour, a method so dangerous it led to frequent fractures. When the wooden platforms finally arrived, their proximity to the naval camp, HMS Saunders, provided endless amusement for the naval ratings. The inherent dangers of early airborne operations were starkly highlighted by a static lying parachute failure, where the ring broke away from the clip, causing a parachute to not open, forcing a temporary halt to trials. One of the unit's most critical innovations came from Jock Lewis. The challenge was acute: how to carry enough ammunition to destroy multiple aircraft with conventional explosives. A skeptical sapper major dismissed the idea of a combined explosive incendiary device as impossible, offering only a slow, double-barreled bomb with a 10-minute fuse. Undeterred, experimented with plastic explosives and thermite, even incorporating oil like making bread, to achieve a balanced mix. His breakthrough, a lightweight Lewis bomb, as light as a feather, not much as a pound, yet capable of both blowing up and burning an aircraft. Each man could carry 20 or 30 of these ingenious devices. Its successful demonstration, blowing up and igniting oil drums before the astonished sapper major, was a pivotal moment. The unit's efficacy was then put to the test, with the audacious labeling raid on Heliopolis Aerodrome. Sterling wagered a group captain £10 that his men could infiltrate the aerodrome undetected, leaving labels on the planes instead of bombs. It involved a grueling 90-mile desert trek by night, subsisting on limited rations of bully beef and biscuits and just 4 pints per man of water. Under cover of darkness, the men cut through barbed wire, placing 45 labels on aircraft. The aerodrome's commander, focused solely on road entry defenses, had believed raiders would not come by desert. The success was absolute. All groups fulfilled their mission, some planes receiving multiple labels, leading to sharp reprimands at GHQ, and a £10 check from the humbled group captain. This raid silenced skeptics and proved the viability of deep penetration, unconventional sabotage. November 1941, the strategic landscape of North Africa was poised for a major shift. General Auchinleck's first major offensive was scheduled for dawn on November 18th. The Special Air Service, still nascent, was tasked with a critical supporting role, preceding the offensive with raids on 5 advanced German airfields. On the evening of November 16th, the planned night for the parachute jump, a brigadier issued a stark warning: gale force winds, an environmental adversary as fierce as any enemy. Yet Sterling, supported by his key officers Jock Lewis, Fraser, and Paddy Mayne, made the agonizing decision to proceed. Cancelling, he believed, would be a fatal blow to morale. It was a high-stakes gamble, driven by conviction, but ultimately doomed by circumstance. The jump was catastrophic. Gale force winds scattered the men, sandstorms blinded them, and torrential rain hampered navigation and safe landings. This unforgiving desert environment became the primary antagonist. Upon assembling, a far more critical flaw was revealed. The bomb fuses, essential for their destructive mission, had been packed in separate containers from the bombs themselves, and these supply parachutes were lost. The unit was rendered non-operational before a single shot could be fired. The debacle was compounded by German deception. One lost group, led by Sergeant Yates, was lured to a German landing field by sophisticated use of English, leading to their capture. The cost was devastating. Out of 62 men minus 55 privates and 7 officers, 37 were lost, either captured or killed. Only 18 men and 4 officers survived the disastrous operation. This catastrophic failure forced David Sterling to a brutal strategic rethink. Parachuting was, for now, abandoned. Instead, he turned to the Long-Range Desert Group, a unit founded by the distinguished scholar R. A. Bagnold in the summer of 1940 Bagnould's pioneering research into desert physics and navigation had developed the vital sun compass, making long-range desert travel possible. Major Don Steele, commander of A Squadron of the LRDG, was tasked with providing ferry services for Stirling's men. This shift in tactics coincided with Brigadier Dennis Reed's triumph. On November 25, 1941, Reed, after a 300-mile journey, entered Jalo in triumph. This remote oasis, 250 miles from Siwa Oasis and 150 miles inland from the main coastal fighting, became the new, crucial forward operating base for the SAS. Operating from Jalo, away from the immediate oversight of headquarters, granted Stirling greater operational independence. The lessons were harsh but invaluable. The myth of perfect execution was shattered. This failure, though brutal, provided critical insights into logistics, coordination, and the unpredictable nature of desert warfare. It showcased the unyielding spirit of the nascent SAS, which, despite near annihilation, was already planning its next audacious move. December 1941. The vast expanse of the Libyan desert, roughly the same size as India, about 1,200 miles by 1,000, was a formidable adversary in itself. Its challenging terrain, lack of infrastructure, and extreme conditions necessitated specialized units and unconventional tactics. Conventional forces struggled to navigate its depths, but for a new breed of soldier, it offered concealment and avenues for unparalleled penetration. It was in this brutal environment that the Long-Range Desert Group, or LRDG, forged its unique identity. Established from scratch by Bagnold, with the firm support of General Wavell, it sought 30 volunteers chosen for their brains and stamina. With Colonel Prendergast as Bagnold's second-in-command and successor, the LRDG mastered handling 30 hundredweight trucks in all types of going, carrying supplies for weeks at a time. Their requisitioning requests, as chronicled by Kennedy Shaw, were famously peculiar: sandals, trouser clips for maps, nautical almanacs, despite not being sailors into the Mamek, northing such muff, knotted crists and distance, Halfall scaking the David, even a paraffin-worked refrigerator for vaccines. Their mastery of navigation, using theodolites, sextants, and prismatic compasses, was unparalleled, making them the eyes and ears of the desert. From December 1941 into January 1942, operating from the remote Jal Oasis, David Stirling's L Detachment, now ferried by LRDG, patrols began a series of night raids against the enemy coastline. These were units on trial, their every action scrutinized, but they were driven by the strategic need to neutralize enemy air superiority and disrupt vital supply lines that fed Rommel's advance. The night of December 14-15 marked Phase 1 of Stirling's raids, targeting Sirte and Agala aerodromes. On December 8, David and Paddy Mayne set off for Sirte, escorted by Gus Holloman, a Rhodesian LRDG patrol leader. Holloman was not just a driver, he was skilled in desert navigation and, crucially, engaging enemy aircraft. Their convoy was equipped with Lewis guns on air mountings, ready for an aerial encounter. The night of December 8/9 short brought their first encounter with enemy air power, a Ghibli reconnaissance plane, slow and maneuverable, which could turn on a sixpence, appeared. Holloman's black-bearded gunner, Kruger, opened fire. Though the Ghibli had only one machine gun and carried no more than 2 bombs, it presented a constant threat. Later, bombers attacked their dispersed convoy, dropping bombs inaccurately. The LRDG's camouflage, evasive maneuvers, and the sheer vastness of the desert proved their best defense. No casualties were sustained. The attempted raid on Sirte Aerodrome on the night of December 9th was disrupted when the raiders were discovered. But on the night of December 10th, Paddy Mayne, with his usual audacious spirit, led a successful raid on Tammet Field. 24 planes had been destroyed, a testament to the efficacy of L Detachment's well-planned action. This success was a significant morale boost, proving that these small, specialized units could achieve disproportionate results. Beyond airfield attacks, the SASA began to diversify targets. Jock Lewis devised a bold plan to infiltrate a roadhouse at Mercer Brega, a hub for enemy transport, collaborating with Lieutenant Morris's LRDG. Patrol Lewis's group even acquired an Italian Lancia car. However, the Lancia proved problematic, constantly getting bogged down in the sand, highlighting the logistical challenges of using captured enemy vehicles unsuited for the desert. Sergeant Lilly chronicled the arduous journey and the subsequent Mersa Brega raid, an example of their adaptability beyond traditional airfield assaults. By midnight, David and Sergeant Bruff awaited signs of Paddy's raid, rendezvousing with Holliman on the coast road at 12:45 a.m. Just 15 minutes later, around 1 a.m., an Italian transport truck, hit by one of their pressure mines, exploded on the mined road. The subsequent destruction, including the 24 planes at Tamit, significantly disrupted enemy air power, forcing Rommel to divert resources from the front line. By 8:30 a.m., David and Paddy were back in Jallo, Paddy's returning party spotted on the horizon by the sentry at 11 a.m. These initial raids, often conducted against overwhelming odds and in extreme conditions, validated the concept of unconventional tactics. They demonstrated the sheer audacity and bravery of these soldiers, proving that specialized units, even those initially on trial, could achieve critical objectives and set precedents for future special operations. The audacious desert operations of the Special Air Service were a relentless learning curve, forged in the crucible of trial and error. A previous attempt to shoot up a roadhouse, led by Jock Lewis, had faltered. The Breda and Bren guns, vital for their firepower, malfunctioned due to thickened oil in the cold desert night. This loss of surprise forced a critical tactical reassessment. The value of infiltration and stealth was powerfully affirmed by Bill Fraser's party at Agdadia Airfield. 4 days after Lewis's setback, Fraser returned to Jallo, having achieved a spectacular success. His men destroyed 37 aircraft, mostly C.42, quote, TARS, by infiltrating the airfield perimeter through wire and sentry posts. Using leapfrogging tactics under the cover of darkness, they planted Lewis bombs equipped with unreliable time pencils, fuses that exploded erratically, some a little early, some a little late. Brigadier Reed recorded the excitement of this triumph in his diary, validating the effectiveness of airfield destruction. David Sterling's strategy continued to evolve. Learning from both failures and successes, he emphasized that surprise is everything. He argued against pre-raid reconnaissance, believing that enemy complacency was their greatest asset. His goal was ambitious: 50 planes in a night, with shooting reserved only as a parting gesture after explosives were planted. The unit often relied on extremely unreliable Italian maps, though the British Army was developing new ones using line overlap photography. The strategic imperative was clear: with Rommel in retreat, then reinforcing Agala, a window of opportunity existed to degrade his supply lines and air cover. Sterling planned simultaneous raids on Sirte and Tamit. On the first night of the expedition, vehicles were meticulously serviced. By 9 o'clock on the third day, they reached their destination. The operation was planned for 1 a.m. At 4 o'clock on the fourth day, David's party approached the Sirte airfield perimeter. However, at 4:30 a.m., they abandoned the attempt, likely due to unforeseen defenses or loss of surprise. But just 20 minutes later, at 4:50 a.m., David's group, with Gus Holliman driving the LRDG trucks, began a highway shooting up raid at Tamit. They raced along the highway, all guns firing Tommy guns, grenades, rifles at encampments, and soft-skinned supply trucks, planting Lewis bombs in supply trucks. Holliman extended the raid until 5:15 a.m. Paddy Main's patrol, meanwhile, achieved another resounding success at Tamit Airfield, destroying 27 planes. By 7 o'clock, Paddy's men reached their rendezvous. In a single week, the SAS claimed 61 planes and at least 30 vehicles destroyed. An intercepted enemy message from Sirte, forwarded by Middle East headquarters, revealed the enemy's fear. Constant night patrols were now required along the airfield wire. Christmas Eve saw Lewis's patrol dropped near Nephilia at 2 a.m. On Christmas morning, they began their raid. However, they managed to destroy only 2 planes due to the aircraft being dispersed and early explosions. They faced near capture, and during their retreat, their trucks came under air attack. Jock Lewis, the brilliant inventor of the Lewis bomb, was tragically killed, his jeep set alight. Sergeant Lilly, a survivor of the Nephilia raid, recounted Lewis's death and the harrowing ordeal that followed. Another patrol, led by Bill Fraser, faced an equally desperate situation. They waited for 6 days at a rendezvous point. Then, abandoned by support, began a grueling desert trek. Sergeant Duvivier chronicled their incredible survival story. With only half a pint of water per man, They improvised a distillery using Italian-type water bottles and rubber tubing to collect condensation. Their resilience was further tested when they successfully raided an Italian truck for 2 jerry cans filled with crystal clear and cool water. They marched 200 miles to Hasselé, a testament to their resourcefulness and sheer will to survive. These raids, marked by both spectacular success and devastating loss, underscored the extreme dangers and profound impact of unconventional warfare. They significantly impacted enemy logistical capabilities and air cover, forcing a higher operational tempo and a constant psychological war on Rommel's forces. January 1942. David Stirling, having miraculously escaped capture after a previous operation, was on the move for 6 days, his party desperate for water, weak and tired. They had covered an astonishing 200 miles in 8 days. Their immediate survival and the continuation of their mission depended on an audacious act, the capture of an enemy vehicle. They seized a small Mercedes-Benz, equipped with a wireless transmitter, an unexpected boon in their desperate situation. This swift act transformed them from a stranded, vulnerable group to an offensive capability, however improvised. Stirling's unit had already proved its destructive prowess. In just 2 weeks, L Detachment had destroyed 90 enemy aeroplanes. This track record, combined with the British advance into Libya and the impending fall of Benghazi, created a strategic opening. Enemy forces were now rerouting vital supplies to Bura, a high-value target ripe for disruption. Stirling presented his plans to General Auchinleck. The general, upon seeing Stirling, famously remarked, "I say, what a splendid beard," but the conversation quickly turned to strategy. Stirling argued they must destroy those machines and supplies before they got into action. The new target was clear: Bulrat, with its ships, petrol dumps, and tankers. The raid had to occur during a moonless period, a critical constraint for clandestine operations. Stirling, ever proactive, had not hesitated to prepare his plans before receiving the general's authority to execute them. Auchinleck, impressed by the initiative and the demonstrated impact, granted his request and promoted him from captain to major. Aerial reconnaissance revealed mud houses, some of them whitewashed, a few large storehouses, a pier, and a wireless station on the outskirts. The FAF was already bombing Bouera on the 22nd. With another attack planned for the 24th-25, timely intelligence was paramount, or else we may just walk by the dumps and not know they're there. However, setbacks plagued the mission. The wireless truck and its 3 operators went missing. What happened to them is not known to this day. Then, the critical equipment for a seaborne assault, the canoe, was split in 2. Stirling, faced with this decisive blow, pivoted immediately. "If we can't get the ships," he declared, "we'll get the harbour installations instead." The revised target included the wireless station, 2 miles to the other side of the town. The final approach was stealthy. A single vehicle driving 10 yards off the road and stopped. The operational window was tight, exactly 1 hour and 55 minutes to accomplish their work before a 2 a.m. rendezvous deadline. The SAS was rapidly evolving. Their cap badge, bearing the motto, "Who dares wins," became an emblem of their spirit. Initial white berets, adopted out of too much bravado, were quickly abandoned. But their operational wings eventually received official blessing, a testament to their growing legitimacy. The unit also expanded, recruiting about 50 Free French parachutists. Explosives expert Bill Cumper, RE, known for carrying detonators behind his ears, like cigarettes, became an invaluable asset, further enhancing their destructive capabilities. These operations underscored the strategic value of targeting enemy supply lines and infrastructure, directly impacting Rommel's ability to sustain his advanced forces and solidifying the SAS as a distinct and effective fighting force. February 1942, David Stirling's raid on Bourat Harbour and its installations was a resounding success, despite initial fears of failure. At 2:30 a.m., synchronized explosions ripped through the wireless station, set with 30 pounds of TNT. As David's group prepared to withdraw, they stumbled upon an immense, unexpected strategic prize: 3 to 4 rows of giant petrol carriers, each with a haulage capacity of 20 tons, carrying 4,000 gallons of fuel. This was a target of immense, unforeseen value. From 1:30 to 1:45 a.m., the petrol carrier park was systematically targeted, bombs placed with a 10-second fuse for immediate decisive destruction. By 2:06 a.m., David's group returned to the rendezvous, and at 2:35 a.m., as they passed a fort, the earth trembled with the secondary explosions of the petrol dump. Sergeant Major Riley, leading a separate SAS group, had encountered David on 2 occasions, a testament to the close proximity of their daring operations. Corporal Seekings and Sergeant Bennett, whose accounts vividly detail these raids, engaged the enemy with Tommy guns, showcasing bravery in close-quarters combat and meticulous bomb placement. However, even as Sterling's men achieved tactical victories, the broader strategic landscape was shifting dramatically. On January 21st, Rommel launched a swift, devastating counterattack. By January 26 to 31st, the battle for Benghazi reached its height, and the city fell once more to Axis forces. This forced the LRDG to abandon Jalo, their crucial oasis base. Captain Timpson, leading a demolition team, was responsible for destroying all captured supplies, awaiting the return of Hunter's patrol. During this chaotic period, David Sterling, who had left Cairo on January 12, made his way back to Jalo. His reunion with Timpson's team symbolized the unit's resilience and determination to continue the fight despite the changing front lines. With Rommel's line stabilized by January 12, Sterling's next target was the airfields around Benghazi, with raids planned for March 8, 13th. The disruption of wireless communication at Bura and the targeting of airfields in the Benghazi area directly impacted enemy intelligence and air support capabilities, contributing to Rommel's logistical challenges. The effectiveness of these small, highly mobile units in waging asymmetric warfare was clear, providing crucial tactical victories even amidst larger strategic setbacks. It debunked the myth of impenetrable enemy defenses and highlighted how well-prepared raids could exploit enemy underestimation. March 1942. For David Sterling, modern mechanized warfare was a beast dependent on constant resupply petrol, machinery, ammunition. He argued that by mercilessly raiding the enemy's supply lines with 500 specially trained men, they could achieve disproportionate results. He viewed the conventional military's adherence to mass battle strategies as outdated, a rigid management that failed to grasp the fluid, destructive power of his vision. The elusive Benghazi harbor remained a primary target, its shipping a vital artery for Rommel's supplies. Previous attempts had been plagued by broken boats, unfavorable weather, and unworkable equipment, including RAF, rubber dinghies and Royal Engineers reconnaissance boats that simply failed to function. These failures, however, fueled a more meticulous approach to preparation. Intelligence officer Gordon Alston, described as jolly good, was integral to the planning. Bob Mellot, a Belgian businessman and expert Arabist, proved crucial for reconnaissance and local knowledge, leveraging Senussi soldiers for intel gathering. From the special boat section, officers David Sutherland and Ken Olot were brought in for the naval elements of the raids. Utilizing limpets-magnetic devices carrying 2 or 3 pounds of high explosive for attaching to ship hulls. A daring reconnaissance mission saw a captured German staff car, a Ford utility wagon, painted dark grey with German recognition signals, penetrate Benghazi itself. David Sterling and Sutherland drove into the heart of the city, with Sutherland even wounded by a mine on the treacherous Trick El Abdort. The mission confirmed the vulnerability of the harbour. During the infiltration, they encountered an Italian sentry, dismissive of ground raids, highlighting enemy overconfidence. Before the real raid, a controversial joke operation was devised. Rehearsals were conducted on the Great Bitter Lake using reconnaissance boats. Then, in audacious, unauthorized test, they simulated an attack on British shipping in Suez, proving the potential effectiveness of the boats and limpet mines. Mid-May arrived, the moment for the real raid on shipping. On May 21st, the operation was scheduled. Paddy Mayne, meanwhile, led a successful raid on Burqa airfield, destroying 15 planes on Burqa satellite, demonstrating the effectiveness of localized success. The Benghazi raid itself was not without its drama. A midnight drunk in Benghazi nearly compromised the operation, a vivid anecdote of the unexpected human elements in wartime. Paddy Mayne, after an operation, was even rescued by a friendly Senussi camp, underscoring the importance of local alliances. Corporal Seekings was injured, leading to the participation of Randolph Churchill, who, in a moment of dark humor, suffered a parachuting mishap himself. A screaming car, a comical and almost disastrous element, further emphasized the chaos and improvisation inherent in their raids. Ultimately, the Benghazi operation, despite its harbor raid failure, demonstrated the feasibility of reaching and disrupting enemy strongholds. By proving that such raids could penetrate even seemingly secure rear areas, the SAS sowed uncertainty and forced the enemy to divert significant resources for defense. The strategic value of disrupting supply lines was a potent weapon, a testament to Sterling's vision of unconventional warfare. February 1942. Winston Churchill, Prime Minister of Great Britain, watched the unfolding campaign in North Africa with growing alarm. His deepest anxiety in March, following concerns in February, centered on the strategic lifeline of Malta. German attacks on the island were relentless, and by April 20th, General Dobbie's telegram from Malta detailed dire supply shortages, threatening the collapse of the British Empire. Malta's survival was paramount. Its fall would imperil the defense of the Nile Valley and give Rommel unimpeded supply. Yet General Auchinleck, Commander-in-Chief Middle East, remained cautious. He replied to Churchill on February 27th, stating he would achieve no numerical superiority before June 1st. Churchill, frustrated by this strategic delay, issued a direct order: attack. He even threatened Auchinleck with removal if he failed to act. This high-level strategic disagreement directly impacted battlefield operations and the fate of critical locations like Malta. Then, on May 26th, Rommel launched his own offensive, a preemptive strike that caught Auchinleck off guard and irrevocably shifted the strategic initiative. The British plans, including a large-scale SAS operation of 8 patrols to raid 8 separate fields between June 13th-14th, designed to support the Malta convoys, were suddenly outmoded. Meanwhile, David Fitzroy McLean faced his own challenges in Benghazi. His SASSSA teams, despite successfully reaching the harbour, were continually frustrated by unworkable boats. Multiple instances of perished rubber and punctures rendered their inflatable boats useless. These tactical failures underscored the dire need for proper equipment and resources for specialized units. Amidst these setbacks, an extraordinary innovation emerged: the Special Interrogation Group, or SIG, conceived and trained by Captain Herbert Buck, MC. This highly unorthodox unit was comprised of German Jews from Palestine who volunteered to pose as Afrika Korps. They were drilled meticulously in German methods, military slang, and used captured German vehicles Nevillewagen, Opel, German 3-ton lorries for deep infiltration and deception. Their equipment included forged paybooks, sold book, German stationery, Luger automatics, and potato masher handries. The risks were immense. One SIG convoy, led by Lieutenant Jordan, faced an Italian sentry, demanding the password. Jordan, bluffing with forged documents, passed through. Fitzroy McLean himself used the magic password staff officers to successfully deceive at roadblocks in Benghazi, even walking past black-booted officers striding in and out of the Gestapo headquarters. An ironic encounter saw a fat corporal, a genuine German soldier, warn the infiltrators about British saboteurs. The SIG offered a crucial high-risk method for penetrating enemy lines, a testament to human ingenuity and courage in the face of overwhelming odds, and a powerful demonstrations that intelligence of enemy's ire, deception, and highly specialized units could achieve objectives beyond the reach of conventional force. June 1942. The Desert War was not just fought with tanks and artillery. It was a battle of wits, where a single enemy agent could unravel a meticulously planned operation. The Derna mission, a critical French reconnaissance, was shattered by betrayal. Just before 9 o'clock, Lieutenant Jordan led his party of French parachutists. The rudimentary password exchange, challenge, siesta, reply, El Dorado, at the guardroom should have been a point of vulnerability, but the mission's failure stemmed deeper. At 10 p.m., Bruckner, a Nazi spy who had infiltrated Allied ranks, betrayed the French. Out of the initial 15 parachutists, only one survived. Bruckner was later awarded the Deutsche Kreise in gold for his treachery, a stark testament to the effectiveness of enemy intelligence and the human cost of deception. Despite this devastating setback, the Special Air Service continued its relentless campaign. David Sterling, his wrists still in plaster from a previous car crash, led a party on the Benina airfield raid. On a desperately hot June day, his 3 men achieved total destruction. With 60 Lewis bombs and a mix of 1-hour fuses and half-hour fuses, they turned hangars into first-rate kindling, destroying the lot of them. This proved Sterling's theory. A few trained soldiers could often achieve more devastating results by surprise and stealth than could a whole squadron or regiment by the usual methods. They returned to their rendezvous by noon the next day, leaving behind a landscape of destruction. Another formidable partner to David led a successful raid on Burqa, destroying 11 bomber aircraft. These raids presented a profound strategic dilemma for the Germans: either concentrate their vulnerable planes, making them easier targets, or disperse them, requiring an untenable commitment of guards across a vast area. The enemy's response was swift and telling. For the last 24 hours, Corporal Lilly reported, the plain has been alive with enemy patrols. A regiment of mobile troops was deployed, and the night was alive with the lights of motor patrols, hunting for the elusive raiders. The SAS, and not a fault of Rapol's, was forcing a significant diversion of resources, a psychological toll that bled into conventional operations. Enemy vehicles, now often equipped with machine guns, probably 2 on each, showcased the direct threat faced by the raiders. David and Paddy, along with their men, had become artists at their craft, their specialized infiltration and sabotage techniques, achieving disproportionate strategic effects. Karl, a captured German driver, held a poor opinion of the British. He had been at the front for 6 weeks and was convinced of German superiority. But after witnessing the audacity and resilience of David Sterling's commandos, he changed his mind. The British, he conceded, had steel, and they could laugh in the face of impossible odds. This psychological warfare was central to the SAS approach. In June 1942, Paddy Mayne and David Sterling, using a captured German staff car, painted dark grey with German recognition signals, infiltrated Benghazi itself. This cunning deception allowed them to bypass enemy patrols. Their targets? A transport filling station, a large petrol storage tank, a roadhouse, a car park filled with heavy lorries and trailers, and an enemy camp. With devastating precision, they blew them all to pieces. The escape was equally daring, up a primitive track leading up the escarpment. These raids, conducted with minimal casualties, were a masterclass in disruption. The audacious attacks continued. On June 8, Lord Jellicoe, son of a famous admiral, embarked on HM submarine Triton for a raid on Crete. Jellicoe, by his own admission, relied on Benzedrine for courage during these high-stakes missions. His leader, Burge, along with French privates Muirhay, Sibard and Leostick, targeted the critical Malaim airfield. The German forces on Crete had 66 Junkers, 14 Stukas, and 6 other aircraft. Burge's team destroyed 21 planes, 4 trucks, and a petrol dump, a significant blow to Axis air power. However, the cost was high. Muhot and Sibert were captured, Leostick mortally wounded. June 21, 1942, marked one of the blackest days of the Desert War. Rommel's relentless advance culminated in the surrender of Tobruk. The Axis captured gigantic booty supplies for 30,000 men for 3 months, over 10,000 cubic meters of petrol. It was a crushing blow, and Rommel was poised to push into Egypt, threatening the Nile Valley itself. But even amidst this strategic catastrophe, the SAS, remained defiant. On July 1st, the unit was ready to move off for a new desert rendezvous. The 8th Army under General Auchinleck was holding a desperate stand at El Alamein, along a 35-mile front between the coastal town and the Qattara Depression. Sterling established his mobile base approximately 150 miles from Cairo, with Robin Gurdon of the LRDG providing crucial transport and guidance. His vision was clear: a sustained offensive with around 100 trained men. The SAS acquired 23-ton lorries and 15 jeeps. The jeep, with its speed and maneuverability, proved the ideal vehicle for desert raiding. Obsolete Vickers guns, once fighter aircraft machine guns, were ingeniously repurposed and mounted on the jeeps, creating a formidable mobile fire platform. These raids, including Burqa, 11 planes, and Benina, 5 planes, 30 aircraft engines, 3 workshop hangars, destroyed an astounding 143 planes in June alone. While the critical Malta convoy saw only 2 out of 17 ships reach port, these 2 ships were crucial for the island's survival for 8 weeks. The SAS, with its audacious actions, provided vital strategic support, disrupting enemy supply lines and offering a crucial morale boost during one of the darkest periods of the North African campaign. July 1942. David Stirling's revolutionary vision of continuous disruption clashed constantly with the conservative strategic thinking of GHQ. For 6 months, he had strived to impress upon headquarters that the SAS was more than just a sabotage group. It was a strategic offensive force, capable of executing the job of a whole regiment with a fraction of the men. Yet GHQ remained anchored to traditional large-scale operations, often misunderstanding the SAS's agile, independent operational style, which heavily relied on LRDG, wireless communication and navigators. The night after a conference, 5 or 6 raids were planned to support an abortive 8 Army counteroffensive. Early the next morning, vehicles moved out for their targets, but confusion reigned. On the night of July 7-8, a Jock column, a British mobile fighting force, often used for deception, was sighted. This caused significant tactical disruption, delaying reconnaissance and underscoring a critical lack of inter-unit communication from HQ. Was it friendly? Or worse, captured enemy material? The uncertainty was a profound danger. David's group, split into 4 patrols in the Bagush Fuka area, reached the Fuka escarpment at 8 o'clock, almost dark. 18 miles from their position lay Bagush Aerodrome with approximately 40 aircraft. By 11 o'clock, after 3.5 arduous hours covering 8 miles, they reached the coastal highway. Bagush was 10 miles farther west. David planned a roadblock 3/4 of a mile short of the aerodrome. Within 10 minutes, boulders were in place. At 1:15, 15 minutes past 0 hour, there were no explosions. The initial bombing raid on Bagush Aerodrome had failed. The cause? Bombs with primers inserted too soon, a procedural error that highlighted a lack of rigorous oversight and training for new equipment. Paddy Mayne, however, would not be denied. Over the next 40 minutes, 22 explosions ripped through the aerodrome as Paddy led a direct shoot-up using newly fitted Vickers K machine guns from their jeeps. The glow of fires, visible 18 miles away from the Fuka escarpment, was witnessed by Dr. Malcolm Playdell. By morning, air reconnaissance confirmed 37 planes destroyed. The SAS claimed 34 planes from this operation, contributing to their estimated 180 total aircraft destruction. Robin Gurdon, leading another group in the area, blew up 30 vehicles and raided a canteen and car park. 8 explosions were heard from a French/English raid on a neighbouring field. Even as Arthur Sharp withdrew, he planted 6 bombs. These actions, despite initial failures, were a testament to on-the-spot adaptation and aggressive direct action. The retreat was perilous. Under air attack from Ghibli and CR-42 aircraft, they lost transports. By 3 o'clock in the morning, the SAS outfit, now operating from a new, secure base 50 feet high on an escarpment, was again on the move. They had covered 25 miles before dawn after leaving their compromised rendezvous. This new base would be their home for 3 weeks. The captured German prisoners yielded vital intelligence. El Dabar, not the targets GHQ favoured, was Rommel's most important advance airfield. This directly contradicted headquarters intelligence, fueling Stirling's frustration. He immediately sent a signal to Cairo. Stirling believed the SAS could achieve a 40% success rate, a bold target that GHQ seemed unable to grasp. His refusal to amalgamate with the SOE underscored his unwavering commitment to the SAS's independent military identity and his unique vision for its role. This conflict revealed a fundamental divide in military doctrine, with Stirling championing a nascent form of modern, agile warfare. July 1942. In the past few weeks, German radio broadcasts had begun mentioning the Phantom Major reporting savage raids behind their lines. Field Marshal Rommel himself, in his diary, acknowledged the havoc and disquiet caused by Stirling's commandos. David Stirling, young, tall, good-looking and dashing, as Cole, Peniakov or Popsky described him, was fast becoming a romantic figure of the war in the Middle East. David Lloyd Owen saw Stirling as a great figure of the war, with an indefinable magic and a profound power over men. Fitzroy MacLean attributed Stirling's ventures to never-failing audacity and a gift of daring improvisation. Yet, Stirling's brilliance was rooted not merely in daring deep, but in an uncanny understanding of the psychology of war, knowing precisely when to strike and crucially when to strategically withdraw. He was far from just an English eccentric, he was a master tactician, his daring backed by meticulous planning. The SAS had undergone a pivotal transformation. From its early, disastrous parachute operations, it had evolved into a land-fighting force centered on the Jeep. The Jeep, with its speed and maneuverability, proved the ideal vehicle for desert raiding. These machines were patched up with plastic from bombs, a testament to constant improvisation. Critically, Stirling secured the transfer of Mike Sadler from the LRDG. Sadler, brilliantly successful as a navigator and transport leader, created an atmosphere of confidence and solidified the SAS's self-sufficiency. Sadler's expertise was vital for navigating the treacherous Katara Depression, 150 miles in length and 75 miles across, a salt bog considered impassable. His meticulous use of a theodolite ensured accurate navigation through crossings like Kenitra and other tracks. To avoid enemy air patrols, they crossed the depression at night or during midday heat haze, always driving in loose formation, following dust trails, erecting a Wyndham aerial for wireless communication only when safe. Stirling was developing a bold new strategy. The massed Jeep attack, July 12-13th, had seen a series of raids where only 2 out of 5 parties were successful. Paddy Mayne had led a successful raid, destroying 15 planes while Jordan claimed 7. But Stirling now envisioned something larger. The target was Sidi Hanish, Rommel's main staging area for aircraft, constantly full of planes. The plan involved 18 Jeeps, each armed with 4 Vickers K guns, firing at a rate of 1,000 rounds a minute. A weird dress rehearsal saw them practice formations like a double-lined arrowhead. The journey to Sidi Hanish was fraught with challenges. The terrain inflicted 15 punctures. During daylight, they hid in caves, like rabbits in a warren. Stirling faced the improbable problem of calculating necessary supplies and even sent a blasphemous message to HQ to secure the silence he needed. Robin Gurdon, slated to be Stirling's second-in-command, was tragically killed during a raid, a stark reminder of the ever-present danger. Officers like Carol Mather and Steve Hastings were part of the hidden contingent, enduring the discomfort and apprehension that preceded such daring raids. The stage was set for a pivotal operation that would redefine desert warfare. July 1942. The night of July 26th, under a full moon, saw David Stirling lead 18 Jeeps towards Sidi Hanish airfield. Each Jeep bristled with 4 Vickers K guns, creating a mobile arsenal of 68 guns. It was a daring experiment in the mass Jeep attack, a departure from traditional stealth, favoring overwhelming firepower and audacious speed. Steve Hastings, a participant, vividly recounted the operation. After navigating approximately 30 miles, Mike Sadler, their master navigator, confirmed their position. Less than a mile short of the field, the target was massive, an estimated 40 to 50 aircraft, including critical Junker 52 transports. At only 100 yards away, David opened fire. It was a calculated shock. The Jeeps roared onto the airfield, their Vickers K guns spitting a torrent of 1,000 rounds a minute. 2 minutes later, a Junker 52, attempting to land, was instantly engulfed in flames, its destruction a stark signal of the SAS's presence. In just 30 seconds, another aircraft ignited. Paddy Mayne, with his characteristic daring, personally placed a bomb on a surviving plane. The raid was devastatingly effective. At least 14 Junker 52s, valued at 5 ordinary bombers each, were destroyed, along with dozens of other aircraft. Rommel's supply chain was hit hard. But success came at a cost. During the retreat, the Jeeps faced relentless challenges: engines seizing, tires puncturing, and enemy fire, including Breda gun and mortar fire. Aspirant André Zernheld, a French comrade, died on July 27, 1942. His quiet burial in the desert underscored the human price of their audacious missions. David's party reduced to 4 jeeps and 14 men, then 3 jeeps and 13 men, after abandoning a vehicle, faced a grueling escape. They evaded enemy patrols by hiding by day, even removing wheels from a blazing jeep to save precious tires. Their resilience was tested to its limit. Captured German personnel offered a rare glimpse into the enemy's perspective. Baron von Lutterotti, Rommel's personal pilot, spoke of German confidence, but a captured doctor lamented the war's slow agony, a prescient observation. Finally, at 5:30 in the morning, after a perilous journey, David's group reached their rendezvous, welcomed by the simple, comforting ritual of tea. The Sidi Hanesh raid was a pivotal moment. It validated the armed jeep as a potent offensive weapon in desert warfare, revolutionizing raiding tactics. It demonstrated the SAS's capability to operate independently and achieve significant strategic impact behind enemy lines. The image of the Phantom Major, a tall figure at 6 feet, 6 in, leading a column of jeeps, cemented the SAS's legacy as a force that, through innovation, audacity, and an unyielding spirit, redefined the art of unconventional warfare. But even this legend faced setbacks, and the road to strategic impact was paved with relentless, meticulous planning and a deep understanding of the desert battlefield. In the last 3 weeks alone, a dedicated SAS detachment had already shattered over 100 enemy aircraft, a testament to their disruptive power. This relentless pressure was vital, for Rommel was expected to launch a final thrust towards Alexandria before the month is out. The Allied command knew that by the end of October, the Eighth Army would need to mount a major attack, making every enemy asset destroyed a strategic gain. A new era dawned on August 13, 1942, when General Montgomery took over command of the Eighth Army, bringing with him a renewed drive and a hunger for decisive action. By mid-August, the ambitious Benghazi-Tobruk JLO operation was already under intense discussion, a grand plan for deep penetration raids designed to cripple Axis logistics. The month of September was designated for a quiet period, ideal for interfering with Rommel's vital supply depots, striking at the very arteries of his war machine. Crucial to these future operations was meticulous reconnaissance. David, ever the strategist, had already reconnoitered a specific RAF emergency landing strip earmarked for vital supply drops. These resupply missions would rely on Bombay's aircraft, signaling their descent with carefully timed flares. The primary targets were clear: enemy petrol Bozers, the lifeblood of their motorized divisions, but tactical intelligence also dictated a crucial distinction. Armored cars were largely impervious to the SAS's standard Vickers K guns, necessitating a focus on soft-skinned vehicles to maximize impact. As preparations escalated, a large SAS force, ready for its next deployment, assembled at Kufra by September 7th. New jeeps and trucks arrived, receiving essential modifications, including precise sun compasses and specialized sand trays for navigation across the featureless desert expanses. The ground offensive was scheduled for September 13, 1942. A coordinated assault encompassing Snowdrop, targeting Benghazi, Daffodil, set for Tobruk, Tulip, aiming at Jallo, and Hyacinth, assigned to Bas. Even amidst this strategic whirlwind, the personal cost of war was ever present. That night, after a tense encounter, prisoners were moved, and a moment of unexpected diplomacy unfolded as Baron von Lutterotti offered assistance. The next day, his medical expertise was called upon, as Baron von Lutterotti examined George Jellicoe's knee, a stark reminder that even the toughest commandos were vulnerable to the unforgiving desert and the brutal skirmishes they endured.